Hey, welcome back. Episode 3. The Big 3. I'm Bean Levier.
And I'm James Brown.
And guess what? It's the Island Shuffle. This is the podcast where we watch Lost out of order for some reason. We don't watch it front to back. We watch it in order decided by a random number generator. And
what is the random number generator site that we're using? I've never been on the site.
Absolutely. For full transparency, we are using random.org.
That's so random.
It's very random. Man, the thing about it, it's so random. It's almost like a Newgrounds Flash animation from the early aughts. It's just so random. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I tell a lot of people, hey, I'm doing a podcast now, it's not a big deal, but, I might blow up pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, firstly, that's so random. Secondly, what's it about? And I tell them what it's about, and then they go, that's so random.
Mm-hmm. Nobody can handle... it's not just random, it's a little surreal, too.
Yeah.
There's twists and turns. You've made us some fine martinis here, James, and I thank you for them.
Hey, you're welcome.
The clink of the glass?
It's not episode 3 without getting a little boozy.
Absolutely, and boy, we needed it after this week's episode. No, I'm just kidding. This was actually fine.
This was bizarre, though.
It was definitely bizarre. It definitely will take some talking through. Let me catch you guys up to speed. Last week, we watched Season 6, Episode 9, Abeterno. This week, and I swear I'm not doctoring this, I promise, but I ended up rolling Season 6, Episode 8, RECON, which is the episode before the one we watched last week, which is weird. What are the odds of that? They're very low.
I feel like I thought about making the odds earlier, and how would you do that? You would multiply like 120 by 120?
I think so, yeah.
So that's
a decent amount. That's like a 6-digit figure, probably.
That's 12 times 12 with 2 zeros in front of it.
Yeah.
And in the 9th grade, I knew what 12 times 12 was.
I think it's 144. So it's 14,000 something. 14,400.
Perfect.
Great. Hey.
Now that that's out of the way.
Now that we know the odds.
You can all put your calculators away. All 3 of you.
Hey.
4 of you. Hey, the whole office is listening to this. Let's be real.
Hey, listen. May the odds be ever in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
That's from the Hunger Games, and I just thought that would be a nice little random thing to say.
Well, we like shows here.
We like shows here.
And books and movies, too.
And, all forms of media. Video games, audiobooks.
I like apps.
What's your favorite app?
What have I been using a lot lately? Messenger app.
Oh, that's they're doing good stuff with that.
I keep in contact with my friends that way. I don't like any app that gives you push notifications. I think that is rude, and whenever I see that, I either disable or delete. But sometimes it's nice because it's like, hey, do you want to know about this new feature on the app? And I'm like, hey, I forgot I had this app. I'm going to delete you now.
Yeah, it's a nice reminder that to clear the space that you need on your phone.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I'm glad we can all agree on our favorite apps. So, what do you say we just dive right into this episode? We're still in Season 6. We're still in the weird season, the final season.
Thank goodness.
I don't even... You're new to this whole season. Where would you like to start?
I would like to start just by saying that when I heard we were going to watch the episode directly previous to the episode we had watched last week, I assumed that the two would be related in any way whatsoever.
They really are not.
They're really not.
They have almost completely separate characters. This episode features, first of all, features our good boy Sawyer. He's the central figure in the episode. Once again, yay! Give it up for Sawyer. Everybody, give it up for everyone's favorite handsome con man who plays by his own rules.
He plays by his own rules. In this episode, though, a feature that I wouldn't have caught on to had you not explained to me. He is also existing within this episode within an alternate universe where he is a policeman.
So, what do you say we... get this out of the way right now. We need to talk about one of the central features of Season 6. Oh, it's so... I don't even know where to start with this. Alright. So, I kind of gave... oh God. I wasn't ready to have this conversation this early into the podcast, but I'm going to do my best. Oftentimes in the show, we see flashbacks pertaining to a certain character's backstory, or in some instances, flash forwards, pertaining to their life post-island. In Season 6, we get what became known as Flash Sideways, which is apt. Okay. I think I'm going to try to keep this as broad strokes as possible. Effectively, we're seeing a glimpse into an alternate world where the Flight 815 never crashed on the island.
Oh yeah, because there was mention of Sawyer having come back from Australia on Flight 815.
Exactly.
It did not crash.
Exactly. It did not crash. It landed safely at LAX. But you know what? That's not the only thing that's different. In this crazy mixed up reality, Sawyer's not a con man. He's a cop.
He's a cop!
He's a gosh darn cop.
And he's a darn good cop.
He's a darn good cop that plays by the rules, except for in some instances.
Where he doesn't play by the rules.
He doesn't always play by the rules.
And you know what rules he still doesn't abide by? The rules of love.
Oh, baby, let me tell you.
What scene did we open on with the Sawyer flashback moment?
Sawyer flashback moment opened with a scene very similar to the scene we saw in our very first episode. Very similar to the long con. He's horning it up with a lady, and they're making love.
They're making love.
And
no clothes, but sheets.
Sheets tastefully covering all the bits.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a network show.
Of course. And
this isn't HBO. This is TV.
Yes, this is TV. I can confirm that this is television. The lady's like, "Oh my gosh, Sawyer, you're the best lover ever. I love that was so much fun." And Sawyer's like, "Haha, yeah, I'm good." And just exactly like in the season 2 episode we watched, he pulls a briefcase down and money spills out, and the lady's like, and Sawyer goes, "You weren't supposed to see that, uh-oh." And then the lady goes, "Come on, seriously? You think I'm going to fall for that one?" And then pulls a gun on Sawyer, and Sawyer goes, "I'm not trying to grift you. I'm a cop this whole time. And there's cops everywhere, so just be cool." And that's the twist. The twist is
the twist.
The twist is Sawyer is not a conner anymore. He is a copy.
He's a sort of conning cop. But I do like how no matter what universe Sawyer is in, no matter what side of the law that he is on, he's still fucking a woman and grabbing a briefcase full of money.
Yes.
Like, that is a constant within his personality.
Yeah, some things are constant.
Yeah. There are infinite universes, but we have not discovered, to this point, a universe in which Sawyer is not fucking a woman and then grabbing a briefcase full of money.
It's true. It's absolutely true. The whole plot of his alternate arc is very loosey-goosey. His partner's like, "Hey, you came back from Florida, eh? And you're probably lonely, right? Let me hook you up with some lady I know." They go on a date. It's successful. They fuck again. Fuck count is 2 for Sawyer in this episode.
Fuck count is 2, 10 minutes into the episode.
Yeah, 10 minutes into the episode, Sawyer's already gotten his beak wet twice. I felt gross saying that. I felt very...
It was just objective truth.
I mean, I'm not wrong, but I am a little wrong.
I guess the difference, because we had watched a normal universe Sawyer in our very first episode, and now we're watching alternate universe Sawyer in which he is a cop. And I guess the difference between normal Sawyer and Cop Sawyer is that Cop Sawyer fucks twice.
Yeah, Cop Sawyer fucks twice. Normal Sawyer only needs to fuck once to get the job done. That's exactly it. So, post fucking, Sawyer goes up to get a glass of water. The lady starts rummaging through her drawers and finds a file. Says Sawyer on it.
Oh.
Opens it up. And guess what else is constant in this universe? Sawyer's tragic backstory, where the path that set him onto conhood in reality, I don't think we touched on this last time, but the path that set him onto a life of crime was that a grifter who went by the name of Sawyer conned his parents, and that led to his father killing his mother and then killing himself.
While Sawyer was hiding under a bed.
Yes, that is a vivid and gnarly scene from early in the show.
That's one of the very few I remember very well from watching the show all these years past.
Yeah, it's a wrecked scene. Anyways, that's the same in this episode, in this alternate reality or whatever it is, and effectively, Sawyer comes back to work, and his partner's like, "What did you do?" And Sawyer's like, "I don't know, she shouldn't have been rummaging." And his partner's like, "What do you mean, your partner? I found out you weren't in Florida at all. You were in Australia. What the heck are you? You told me you were in Florida. I'm mad and we're breaking up."
And I think at this point we need to draw attention that, like, why did it take this long for the partner to figure this out? They live in California, and Sawyer had told the partner, "I'm going to Florida for a weekend to, like, relax on the beach." When it's like, you live in fucking California.
Yeah.
Who is going to Florida for a weekend to relax on the beach?
Yeah.
You got the beach.
You got the beach right there. You got one of the biggest beaches that there is.
Just drive for an hour. You don't need to fly across the entire continent to relax at the beach.
I think that's what, you know what? I think that's what tipped his partner off.
I hope so.
That's
Sawyer should have thought, like, I'm going to Nebraska to, like, shop at the strip mall.
Yeah. Nebraska's famous strip mall.
The mall where we also strip.
I mean,
that would attract Sawyer.
I mean, boy howdy, boy, that
could have been the third fuck of this episode.
We only have 2 fucks in this episode. Please bring it up to 3, Laws.
Please take us to Nebraska so we can get a third fuck in on this episode.
Oh my god, but they don't because they don't know what they're doing.
This is what everyone is talking about. When they're like, the 6th season is absurd. They're like,
so you're only
really
fucks twice. Oh god. Anyways, the point is, in this universe, Sawyer is not as good at conning as he is in the real universe. And ultimately, he comes clean to his partner, says, "I've been hunting this guy ever since the day I was born." And the purpose of that scene is supposed to be, like, the reveal of, like, oh, you know, so what's different is he's a cop, but he's still hunting for what he can't find. Do you have any, like... Before we dive into the island stuff, do you have any questions about this fucking weird alternate reality that I can clear up? I could tell you exactly what it is, if you'd like. Or we can save that for discussion.
I don't really want to know.
Okay.
The real thing that struck me about this alternate reality is they created this thing where Sawyer is a cop.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of this weird buddy cop drama in these flashbacks. But they're so bad at writing and, like, filming that.
Yeah,
they can't do a buddy cop show. It's just, like, Sawyer's acting is bad. His partner is a weirdo. And, like, doesn't really have a personality. His personality doesn't make sense. It sort of revolves on this thing where, like, hey, my dad wants to set you up with his coworker, which is not a plot point. Like, that's
not a thing that happens. That's a Three's Company-ass thing that happens.
And then, like... There's no other discernible characters in this reality, even though, like, there's the women that Sawyer fucks, I guess, but essentially they just serve as an extension of Sawyer. They don't actually, like, do anything. There's the, like, I guess it starts with, like, the dumb woman and the smart woman is how they wrote it. They were like, here's the first one, and then she's going to get arrested, and here's the smart one who's too smart for Sawyer. But completely devoid of personality. There's really nothing in that universe to, like, get you attached to anything, which is, I don't know, because when they're... doing things like on the island, I guess with characters that are well developed in a universe that we already accept as, like, being real-ish, I guess, or you're familiar with, the writing and, like, or at least the acting and, like, all of those things sort of work together. Everyone's character sort of seems like a completed person or a well-rounded character. But in this new universe that they created, it's so, like, paper thin. Yeah.
Okay, you've pretty much touched upon the, like, another one of the central flaws of Season 6, which is that this fucking alternate world feels like fan fiction.
Yeah, it's not well-rounded.
It literally is actually just fan fiction. And, like, I get like a tiny kick out of being like, Sawyer and this guy are buddy cops, isn't that goofy?
Yeah.
There's one episode in particular where it's like, this is bananas that you guys actually went in this route. But for the most part, it's just like these guys kind of like, it really feels very thin, very devoid of anything. Like the central mystery of it is like, what is the actual nature of this thing that we're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
when it looks like comparing the world that they exist in on the island to the world, the alternate universe is comparing reality to television or something like that, where like one thing is so complex and it's so full and it's like there's so many ways to delve down, but within that new universe that they've created, there's not even anything to wonder about because it's also flat. It's also like there's just no rabbit holes that you really want to explore because you feel like it's just not thought out half as well as their original universe was.
It really feels like and when we talk about what it actually is, we can dive a little more into the nature of it, but it feels like a classic season 6 problem, which is that they got too over ambitious. They really like the idea of this thing, this alternate world, and there are glimpses of something that works in there throughout season 6, but altogether it just feels like a slog overall, like just a kind of a thin slog that at its very best is fun and goofy to see the characters you know and love in weird situations, but also it's the same goofy thing where it's like no greater than like fan fiction. Decent fan fiction maybe.
Like I feel like having seen 2 episodes of season 6 at this point, it's like it's so far from the original idea of Lost, and it's so just devoid of, I guess, all of the like simple meaning that the original Lost had, which was like, we're stuck on an island, let's get off. Season 6 sort of feels like a show where if were they to try and pitch that show to anyone, it would never, ever, ever get made.
And that's kind of what's so amazing about season 6 in a way, that Lost like reaches this point, and it's just so it's a complicated whole mess that I have a lot of mixed feelings about. Before we move away from the sideways world, there's one scene I really want to highlight. At the end of a long hard day, Sawyer blew it with that lady. Sawyer got yelled at by his partner, comes home to a bachelor pad, the walls are barren, fridge doesn't have much, has a 6-pack, cracks open a beer, pops out a frozen TV dinner, pops it in the microwave, and as most of us bachelors do, turns on that cathode ray tube television and watches some fucking like Prairie Home Companion or whatever it is.
Vintage fucking TV.
And they say something about how life is about living, laughing, and loving or whatever. And Sawyer gets a little twinkle in his eye. And next scene we see him in his classic leather jacket, knocks on the lady's door, and she's got in his hand a single big sunflower and a fresh 6-pack. Not the one he's been plowing through to get through Little House on the Prairie, but a whole new one for the night.
That's an interesting insight into who Sawyer really is. Or I mean, who I guess alternate universe Sawyer really is. Where it's like, he couldn't have drank. Well, maybe he could have, but my assumption is that he didn't drink that much beforehand because he drove there. And you only saw him crack a singular beer when he was watching TV, and it seemed like his epiphany while watching TV was relatively early on in the TV watching session. So he presumably, in my mind, he had 5 beers left in the fridge and went and bought another 6-pack to take to his lady friend's house with a sunflower.
Well, if I show up with 5 beers, that's 2 for her, 2 for me, and then what are we gonna do with this extra beer? Gotta get a 6-pack, so that's even.
That way we can shotgun 3.
Hell yeah! Oh boy, I wish we saw Sawyer gun one. I wish we saw any of the characters on Lost shotgun a beer.
Who do you think would be best at shotgunning one? And Well, I guess...
I mean, Sawyer, obviously.
No, I don't think so at all. I think it's gotta be a sleeper character, like fucking Jin or someone.
Jin can probably gun one.
Jin can, because I feel like he's so business and he takes everything so seriously. There's never, they try and feign humor with Jin and it never quite works.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like this would be a good attempt of them feigning humor with Jin. Like, oh, it turns out he's really good at shotgunning, and that's supposed to be funny, but we're all like, holy shit, Jin's just, like, continues to be sort of badass, but mostly... Like, they use his language barrier as a cop-out to give him a real personality.
Yep. They sure do that. We can dive into Jin when we get to one of the several Sun and Jin episodes.
Yeah.
That's a whole other fish of worms.
It's good that they never get individual episodes. And the Korean couple is always fucking relegated to this, like, you don't have individual personalities.
You are defined by each other and also your race. Yeah,
it's really a bizarre treatment.
Definitely not great.
No,
I think that's a conversation for another episode. Alright, so let's talk about what happens on the dang old island. Because it's worth noting that in the episode following this one, which we watched last episode, it's going to get confusing. In Ab Aeterno and in RECON, there are not two of the same characters, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's a completely separate cast of characters with a few exceptions. We see Locke for a bit at the end of Ab Aeterno.
He does not say words, though.
He does not say words. He looks at the camera menacingly.
Yeah.
Okay, so... where do we... I guess we start at the start, right? Sawyer shows up to Jin, says, "Hey, get up. I'm here. I'm here to hang out. I'm here with Locke." Jin says, "That's not Locke.
Locke's dead."
Locke's dead. And Sawyer says, "I know." And the whole plot of the episode more or less revolves around this kind of very sad group of folks that Locke has gathered to help him.
Fucking sucks.
It's not a fun group. It's a lot. I assume Locke's got them with the intent of helping him to get off the island. We know we the audience know at this point that Locke is a smoke monster. I don't think we know for sure that he wants to escape. Maybe it's revealed in this episode.
He revealed in this episode that he wants to escape. Yeah. He said to Sawyer that he wants to escape. He said, "You guys keep trying to keep me on because you think you're protecting the island. All I want to do is get off the island." Exactly. And it's like, what he doesn't reveal is that he's the devil incarnate trying to unleash his carnage upon the entire world. But, I mean, if he told Sawyer that, Sawyer would probably be like, "Fuck, I'll do whatever you want."
Exactly. You see a lot of fake Locke trying to con Sawyer. Sawyer kind of trying to con him back. Decent amount of conning in this episode.
A lot of conning. It's a Sawyer episode.
It's a Sawyer episode.
It's a lot of conning.
You might say it's a long con.
Oh, it is.
It's not quite a long
42.
It's a 42-minute con. It's a 121 episode con, if you ask me. Ow! Zing! Okay, so let's go through everybody we see and why they're there. I forget why Jin's there. Jin, like, disappears after the
plays no part in the episode.
Jin's just like, "Hey, okay."
I think it literally seemed like a situation where it's like, this is an actor or like a character who's still on the island, and this is an actor who's still like on contract for however many episodes.
Yep, it's a real roll call of an episode.
Yeah.
Gosh, Kate's there, and I forget what her motivations are. Sawyer is just wants to get off the island.
Kate mopes.
Kate's moping. Kate doesn't really know what's up.
She mopes for a decent reason though, because Claire is literally trying to kill Kate.
Yes, we haven't talked about Claire. Claire is a character who's been there since season 1, spends season 1 pregnant, gives birth on the island, has that baby. That baby's special, so they say. And all sorts of wacky stuff happens with that baby. Ultimately, Claire spends some years in the jungle going crazy and ends up coming back when we see her again, she has this horrible skeleton of Alf that she keeps in a crib as a baby. It's not a good looking thing. It's definitely like I remember at the time I think I was like, oh yikes, but like looking back, pretty funny looking.
Yeah, it is pretty funny. Like, what is it? Like, in theory, it must be something that's... So, it's like a raccoon with like a fucking skeleton.
Yeah, I think there's some buttons on there for eyes.
It's weird because this is supposed to be her child.
Yeah.
And she chose a skeleton head.
Yeah,
Like, she could have picked a bushel of hay to be her child. She could have, like, really anything at all. But she chose the scariest thing.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think she's gone a little nutty in the head from spending so much time around Locke, I think.
Locke literally called her crazy.
Locke actually slaps her in this
Locke
episode.
slaps her.
You know, a scene that made me uncomfortable to look at. There's a lot of good scenes of... I think this scene has some problems. Or not this scene. This whole season has some problems. But bless Terry O'Quinn, the actor who plays Locke, for really actually committing to playing this weird, fake, hollow version of himself.
Absolutely.
Because, like, when you see, like, real Locke, and it's like, oh, here's, like, a whole human being, and then seeing him play, like, a facsimile of that, who, like, doesn't understand how to empathize, there's a lot of, like, fantastic scenes of him just trying desperately to relate to people, and, like, no nonsense, like, sociopath conning Sawyer and stuff.
It was really enjoyable for me to watch because Locke had always sort of depended on his, like, he's a deep person. He's like, he has such a rich backstory of like triumph and hardship, and like he's such an empowering story, and he's like, he really loves everyone and he really wants everyone to succeed. And I think that was one of the very few things that they did a good job of in this episode, was sort of creating this character that on paper has all those characteristics, but they're so thinly veiled, and they're so clearly not the same character that you were watching before, even though it's tough to exactly... Well, I guess, no, sometimes it's very blatant and actually ridiculous. But I think they did a decent job, at least, of, like, giving him the Locke characteristics while also expressly making this character that was, like, so paper thin. It's like the John Locke that we see right here is just as unconvincing as the Sawyer we see in the alternate universe, but in this particular instance, because this Locke is being controlled by the smoke monster, that works really well, rather than being, like, unintentionally comical. Yeah,
exactly. Final roll call. Saeed is there. He's deadpan.
He's a zombie.
I forget exactly what happens to him in this season, but he spends most of it just being, like, mopey. He's a zombie with his soul.
They killed his character because, like, I remember really enjoying when he was on screen. He sort of brings a different perspective to things. He's so, like,
level-headed.
He's so level-headed and, like, useful. He's very skilled in so many different ways. And here it's like Kate is literally getting, like, attacked with a knife by Claire, and he has no response.
He has no response. He's just like, well, that's something that's happening.
Yeah, and, like, yeah, I wonder why that is.
It's definitely Saeed's arc is one of the more disappointing parts of season 6 for sure. It's very underwhelming. I think that's pretty much the whole gang. He also has a ragtag bunch of folks. I forget who they are.
They suck.
They suck. They're gross to look at.
I don't care about them.
Alright, so Locke's talking to the boys. He's saying, you've all got questions. It'll be a couple more days till you get answers. Which is pretty much the writers of the show talking to us, the audience. And he says, hey Sawyer, come with me. Listen, I'm gonna let you in on something. That smoke thing that killed all the stuff back there, that was me. I'm the smoke thing. Also, help me out. Look, over there's an island. There's some folks on that island who I think want to do me harm. Go over there and do some recon for me. Some reconnaissance, if you will. And having fun?
Oh my god.
James Brown is has his tongue in his martini glass and is doing some fun stuff with the toothpick.
Trying to get a toothpick out of the glass with my tongue. It's I don't know. It started really innocently.
Yep.
I was not aware that it was occurring almost. I guess it is a perfect metaphor for this show.
Yes,
It started, I was just putting my mouth to a delicious drink, and it's like, everything's good, this is gonna go great.
And before you know it, we've been talking for almost a minute about a toothpick.
Around season 3.5, the tongue slipped in.
Yeah.
Seasons 4 through 6 are the tongue trying to get the toothpick out. And God.
Yeah, that's a... Oh God, I'm trying to think of other ways we could torture that metaphor and connect this with Lost, but I don't think there are any. So,
if you think of any, write us.
Yes, please write us. P.O. Box 310 3030, Greco. Pizzeria. So, lock sales, not lock. My goodness, this martini's hitting me, dude. I'm slipping my tongue everywhere. God.
Right onto the toothpick in the glass.
Right onto the toothpick in the glass. So Sawyer canoes across the island.
As you do.
As you do. And he goes up, he sees a big old plane, and he sees a pile of dead bodies, and he hears some rustling in the bushes, and pulls out his gun, and he goes up, and there's this nerdy Tina Fey looking lady in a blue shirt there, and she's like, "Don't kill me, I was one of the survivors of this flight." To clarify, this flight is how the gang got back to the island. This is something that we will cover in later detail on a later episode, I'm sure. It's convoluted, to say the least.
On a later episode, but also...
on an earlier episode.
Island Shuffle, baby.
Island Shuffle. Who daddy. So...
This is fucked. What if we get the episode before this one?
Oh no, what if we get the episode after Ab Aeterno?
We can't do season 6 next episode.
I don't think, I'm gonna call it right now. If we get season 6, I'm not even gonna include season 6 on the next roll. Sorry guys. But this...
No, we should include it and be straight up about what happens, but I want it to be in the cards and then for us to... I want us to beat season 6.
I'll include season 6 in the next episode, but as long as it's not adjacent to these 2 episodes. How's that?
Yeah.
How's that? Okay.
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
It's so absurd.
It's crazy.
It's a really interesting, though. I find it so funny that us watching 2 episodes that technically occur one after another, albeit we watched the later one before the earlier one.
They're still so disconnected.
Exactly, and it sort of really highlights the funny aspect of watching them in a random order, where it's like... We are almost getting the very same effect that we had between seasons 2 and season 6 as we are between 2 different episodes in season 6.
It's actually completely bananas. That's actually so correct.
It's so ridiculous. I can't believe it. No, I am constantly shocked by what this show has become in the later seasons. I had no clue what it was going to be. I assumed that the show just ended bad. I did not know that they found new ways to really ruin television.
Oh yeah, they get buck wild with it. They really rode this one and that's what I appreciate about it, is that they are just they really pull out all the stops.
They did a bad job very creatively.
Yes, absolutely. I think that is an excellent way of describing the descent of this show. They do a bad job, but I would rather watch something that swings for the fences and completely misses than something that is just puttering about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyways, this lady claims to be a survivor of the flight. Sawyer quickly figures out, hey, you're conning me, buddy, and pulls a gun on her, and she does a classic whistle, and a bunch of fucking nerds emerge from the bushes and go, put your weapons down. That's something that happens a lot on this show, is you think you have the upper hand on me? Weep. And then shoop, everybody's in the bushes.
Everyone's in the bushes. Even though you guys walked a fair distance, I don't know, these guys are fucking nerds. They don't look like fucking...
They actually, to clarify, we've seen a lot of a lot of handsome dudes, a lot of people who look haggard because they've been on the island forever. These dudes are just like your buddies from the office.
Yeah, really.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, if you're like the hot dude in the office, they're the guys you don't talk to in the office. Like
absolutely.
Or, you know, if you're the boss in the office, these are the people who are your underlings. Or, you know, say you drive the bus to the office, these people probably come on the bus to the office. They wear plaid and blue jeans.
There's a lot of ways that you can have these people in your life.
Say you're a mother. You could have had one of these kids.
You could have.
Your kid could turn out just like this one. Sort of boring.
Hey.
Has a gun in his hand.
Comes out the womb boring it with a gun.
But that is, I think, a testament to how boring these people look.
Yeah, they're very just like, you know what it feels like to me? And I don't think this is really what it is, but it feels like they're people who won a contest to be on Lost.
It absolutely does. It's like, you don't look like you're good actors.
No.
And they're not given any particular role. Really,
No,
they pop out with guns and have no
threatening.
lines and leave immediately. It really does feel like that. It's like they opened the right bottle of Pepsi, and because there was none of them added anything. They all looked incredibly boring, which is just a bizarre choice on the show's part to have these people look so insanely average.
For a show that is good at even its lesser characters being like at least memorable looking, to just like, and I kind of now I'm starting to feel mean about it. I'm starting to feel mean about ragging on this group.
We've been
of
railing on like
these
average dudes.
just like,
with these
they're not up to my standards of Hollywood beauty.
Yeah. But I feel like, yeah, that's fair. I feel like, I guess the thing is, they were just supposed to be intimidating, and they were not.
Yes, exactly.
And it was in a very tense scene.
Yes.
It was supposed to be this big reveal.
Yes, and it really took us out of it.
Yeah, a couple of computer programmers popped out of the bushes.
Anyways, the nerd crew takes Sawyer to a nearby submarine, because of course there's a submarine of course there's a submarine. Don't worry about it.
How else are you gonna get to the island? What, a boat, a plane? God damn it! No, it's a submarine.
I mean, there's lots of ways to get to and from the island. The submarine
you
hosts...
can turn off your TV.
You can... the submarine hosts a fellow by the name of Charles Widmore. This fellow serves as kind of an other antagonist. I don't want to get into his whole deal. It's complicated. He's Desmond's father-in-law. I don't know if you remember Desmond.
I do sort of remember Desmond. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if I saw his demise, but he was in the hatch.
Yeah, he was in the hatch.
He was on a boat race, and he fucked up.
Exactly. He fucked up real bad. Anyways, he's that guy's father-in-law. He also sent a freighter to the island to kill everybody. Long story short, apparently now he's here, and he says, Sawyer, what are you doing here? And Sawyer comes pretty much clean to him and says, Locke, fake Locke, you know, you're familiar with him. He sent me here to scope out the scene. And tell you what, I'm willing to tell Locke that the coast is clear if you promise to give me safe passage off of this island. And sure enough, that Widmore says, heck yeah. And Sawyer, so many character names that I'm gonna have trouble keeping them all straight. No matter, like, this is the obstacle of drinking while recording, is that I'm gonna jumble up names constantly.
I think we've laughed more in this episode than we did in previous ones.
We've been giggly. I've been looking at the waveform and I've seen some big bumps.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Sorry, your ears.
Sorry.
Listener.
We are actually sorry.
Hope you're not using headphones. We've all listened to Pete Holmes' podcast and been like, Pete, like, back away from the microphone with that mammoth laugh.
Come on. And also, like, if you're not listening to this on a hi-fi speaker, then you're really missing out on the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't get the high-quality clink. You didn't hear our good mouth noises and coughs in full HD. Anyways. Gotta wrap this up. Sawyer comes back and pretty much gives Locke exactly the straight skinny, says... I told them the coast was clear. I would tell them the coast is clear. And Widmore's there, and they're setting up stuff to keep you out. Why don't you go there, and when you attack, you can, we'll have them completely caught off guard. He's basically kind of on autopilot, double-crossing both parties. And eventually he sits down with Kate and says, like, I only care about one thing anymore. I'm not the same Sawyer that was in season 2, where my cons were all these perfect schemes and made out of selfishness. I'm going to play these two parties against each other, and while they're fighting it out, we're going to hijack that sub and get off the island. And that's the way the episode ends. I'm going to take a glance at my notes to see if there's anything that anything I failed to cover, but I'm pretty sure we got it all.
I would like to draw to attention the scene where Locke was talking to Kate, looking at the other island that Sawyer was on.
Yes, this happens. Kate is sad because she almost just got murdered by Claire. And this is the scene where Locke has to slap Claire, and that's a very rough scene to see. Kate's sad. Locke comes up and says, I want to talk to you, and gives like a really good insincere smile, a good like, I don't know how to smile, kind of smile, and take it away.
Locke says, I know how you're feeling. And then Kate says, what? And then Locke says, I had a crazy mother. Which is a like buck wild thing for him to go off on. It was like really unrelated to anything, it seems, at the time. And he doesn't, after saying I had a crazy mother, he doesn't talk about his crazy mother at all.
He doesn't really explain. He talks in like vague platitudes. As you do when you're revealing something important to the lore on the show. And Kate finally goes, why are you telling me this? And Sawyer goes, because now Aaron has a crazy mother too.
Yeah,
and it's
Claire
like,
is gone crazy.
God, what are you you did that to her.
You
drove her mad.
First of all, you did that to her. Secondly, what is even going on right here? Yeah,
second, that's such a like it's absolutely like the writers just being like, oh God, we gotta give the fans something about this guy's backstory because nobody knows what's going on.
They need the script today.
They need the script now. And it's so weird and forced and not good. It's not a good scene. It's a funny scene.
It's a funny scene.
I laughed.
It's not supposed to be a funny scene.
Exactly. Season 6 is full of funny scenes that are not meant to be funny scenes.
This episode was good for that.
How did you like this episode overall?
I actually really enjoyed it. I think I liked it more than the last episode.
Yeah, the last episode dragged.
Whenever, like, you were saying that the last episode was one of the better ones of season 6, and whenever I was talking to other people too, because some of our friends are very big Lost fans, and we were talking about the show and what we're doing and what we just watched, which was the Richard episode, they said that that was one of the better episodes in season 6. But I found that at least this episode at least sort of resembled the Lost that I had known before. It follows the structure.
Yeah, people want to get off the island, and Sawyer's a con man.
Yeah, exactly.
It has the basic elements there.
Exactly, and sort of. So I took comfort in that. I guess it's tough to say it was really good because I don't enjoy it for the same reasons that I enjoyed the episode in season 2. I thought the season 2 episode was actually good TV, and I thought this one was a pretty hilarious like attempt at being the show it once was, and I was really up for the idea that like, okay, it's gonna be bad, and then it was legitimately entertaining, but not necessarily in all the right ways.
Yeah, it was kind of it was a real like I mean, season 6 kind of does that a lot, where it kind of like does throwbacks to the old stuff, and kind of like, even though it has this kind of like grand like there's an alternate universe and also God and the devil are fighting, wow, and it also does like, but hey, we know where we came from. Sawyer's gonna be a con man. We're gonna be doing some trying to get off the island stuff. Just classic island shenanigans.
I really enjoyed that aspect of things. Firstly, just for the nostalgia trip.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, and like, Lord forgive me, it does work for me sometimes.
I also enjoy it though, just in a like, accepting, because I knew going into things that the later seasons were not very good. And I knew coming into it, it's not like I'm someone watching this being like, please God, let them wrap it up well.
Yeah.
I'm so down to just watch them do a bad job of trying to recreate what was good about the show, and I find that enjoyable to experience, especially having watched some of the show and having been really into it, but then losing interest also.
Absolutely. I'll tell you that the season was very infuriating to watch back in the day live.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Because all that alternate universe stuff was this is such a waste of time.
Yeah,
there's no
really
answers being
it's
given
so
here.
Meaningless.
It's so meaningless. And then
show.
Looking back, I'm just like, this is fine. This is pretty fun. Whatever.
Yeah. I think it's really enjoyable to revisit this show, well removed from its immediate effect, and because it feels like everyone has accepted it as a certain thing at this point.
Yes, exactly.
Everyone has accepted it as a it was once good, then it sucked.
Exactly. But I think there's a little more to it than that, but also not much more.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that pretty much wraps up our thoughts on this episode that we call Recon. We've got want to just say our sweet goodbyes?
Yeah.
All right. I've been Bean.
I've been James Brown.
And Steve Brown just walked into this room and wrote down "Get Lost" on the newspaper and showed it to us.
You may have heard
it, and I liked it a lot.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a clever move. I feel like his entrance was not as graceful as he wanted it to be, and then he completely embraced that fact and was like, you know what?
Yeah.
If this is gonna happen, let's make it fucking happen.
Let's make it happen.
It was a really good metaphor for season 6 of Lost.
Yeah, where it's just you know what? Let's just go for it.
And I thought that's the way to do it.
That's really the way to do it. It's better
we all just get lost.
It's better to burn out than to fade away.
It's better to shoot for the stars, because even if you miss, you space.
Yeah, you got it. Hey, I've been Bean.
I've been James.
And get lost. I don't think that's going to stick as our sign-off phrase, but it seems appropriate considering what just happened.
Get lost today.
Get lost today.